पुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ नमः प्रणवार्थाय शुद्धज्ञानैकमूर्तये निर्मलाय प्रशान्ताय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Together. Kataksha Kirana Chanta Naman Mohabjaye Namah.
Katakša kirana chanta naman mohabdaye namaha.
Anantananda Krishnaya Jagan Mangala Murtaye.
Anantananda Krishnaya Jagan Mangala Murtaye.
Right. We were, if I remember right, on verse 21, right?
Yes.
Who will read today? Please, sir.
हरि ओम स्वामी जी, धन्यवाद। सर्वेभ्यः नमस्कारः। Verse 21. अमृतार्द्रेण मे जीर्णः मृषा डिण्डीरजन् अमृताब्धेन मे जीर्णः मृषा डिण्डीरजन्मभिः स्फटिकार्धेर्न मे रागः स्वाप्न संध्याभ्रविभ्रमेहि.
There's a sentence before that. Read that also.
Yeah, what was said in the last verse is pointed out now by a nice example. It is a little poetic also.
What was said in the last verse? Maybe a good idea to go back and read the last paragraph of the last verse.
Yeah.
We get the connection.
Yes. Now further he says, evam tena pragarena
this way. This way.
Prakarena brahmani jagadaha atmani cha ahankaradehe kalpidatvena vastudaha abhavad.
Abhavat. Being in reality not being abhavat. Not being abhava. Vastutaha being in reality being abhava.
Okay. Padadvaya lakshye brahmani na kaschidabhi vikaraha vastudaha.
Both sentence Swami is written in the book in the transliteration mode. If it was in Sanskrit, probably would have been a little easier to understand. But what is the sentence saying? Evam tena prakarena, in this way, in this method, brahmani jagataha atmani cha ahankaradehe kalpitatvena. This whole jagat is as though superimposed upon Brahman, and on the Atma, and here the Atma is talking about Jivatma. All the time in the previous verse, if you remember, right, we talk about Jivatma. Atmanicha ahankaradehe kalpitatvena. So, ahankara ityadi, which is the artha we take of a jiva, but really the artha jiva, jivatma, all these are superimposed on the jivatma. There is only one sentient vastu, only one. and that is Brahman. Atma or Jivatma gets also a sense of sentiency because it is like a reflected Atma. So be careful to use the word like a reflected. There is nothing like a reflected Atma. But for our imagination, for our thinking, there is Brahman, which is the same thing as Atma, and reflected Atma, which looks like it has sentience. Therefore, all the sentient beings on the Jagat or in the Jagat look like they are conscious beings. Okay? Brahmani, Saptami, on the Brahman, Jagat is as though superimposed, and Atmani on the Jivatma as though Ahankara Dehe Kalpitatven, they have been superimposed as though. So what happens? Brahman gets some qualities. They are not qualities of Brahman, they are qualities of the Jagat. But because we are trying to superimpose Jagat on the Brahman, therefore Brahman gets some Atma, therefore we get Ishwaratvam. And here in the Atma, Jivatma, Ahankara Dehe, Ahankara, etc., all the other things, beginning with Ahankara, they are superimposed on the Jivatma, and therefore it gets a Jivatmatvam. But these are Kalpita. Kalpitattvena, being Kalpita, what is it saying? Vastutaha abhavat. In reality, they don't have a existence of their own. There is not like that. There is no superimposition. There is only Brahman. Therefore, Vastuta Abhavat, Padadvaya Lakshye Brahmani na Kaschidapi Vikaraha. There is no change in Brahman at any point. We look at this slightly with a incorrect eyesight, if you want, and think that there are so many things happening, both in the Atma and in Brahman, both of which are same. And we have seen this example over and over again of the water, ocean, and all those waves and foam and bubbles, etc. in the ocean. But that ocean is water. That wave, the bubbles, etc. are also only water. When we strip them of their Nama Rupa, which are all Kalpita, non-self-existing, we have only water left. So if we take a universe of ocean, it's only a Drishtanta, remember. Therefore, you have to define a universe. For a Drishtanta, there is no universe. Everything is inclusive. Like that, there is Brahman, and by giving certain or imposing certain qualities on Brahman, we have Ishvara, and the same Brahman imposing certain qualities, we call it Jivatma. When you strip them of these apparent differences, there's nothing left. There's only one Brahman, it is unchanging Brahman. That's all Swami is trying to say here. He's continuing also in some more. Shall we read that next also, next line?
Yeah. In reality, the Ahankara is...
No, the word is there. Vastutaha, meaning in reality. Vastutaha, in reality.
Vastutaha, in reality, the Ahankara is Kalpita upon the Atma and Jagat Karanatvam is Kalpita upon Brahman.
Therefore, what do these do? They impose certain qualities on Brahman and on the Atma. Both are the same. Both are only one Brahman, unchanging Brahman. But by superimposing this Ahankara and superimposing Jagat Karanatvam, we create these what look like differences. Therefore, our equation Tattvamasi now begins to make a lot of sense. because it is saying two things which look different are really in reality the same. Yeah.
Vastudaha, in reality, the Ahankara is Kalpida upon the Atma and Jagat Karanatvam is Kalpida upon Brahma, both of which are Mithya. And therefore, Vastu is always Ekam. There is only Ekam Eva Vastu. This is pointed out with reference to Tatpada and also Tvampada. Both are one and the same. In the Lakshya, there is no difference. The implied meaning of Tatpada and the implied meaning of Tvampada is one and the same.
What is it referring to as a Tatpada? What is the Tatpada? He is referring to the Jivatma. The Tvapada is the Jivatma.
That is Ishvara.
Tatvamasi, I am identifying the Jivatma with all the qualities that are superimposed on the Jivatma because of the Ahankara Ityadi. And that looks very different from the Tatpada, which is Ishvara. That also has been assigned certain qualities, whereas we are talking about Nirguna Brahma. Therefore, both Tatpada and Tvampada, when seen correctly, when one understands that what apparent differences are really non-existing and therefore can be negated, what is left is only unchanging Ekameva Aditya Brahman. Therefore, we say both are one and the same. Tatpada is the same as the Tvampada. Therefore, Tattvamasi. So logically, we can arrive at it. Yeah.
So, Amradabdehe Name Jirnaha Mrisha Dindira Janmabihi Amradaha. Here means Moksha Rubaha. That which is not bound by time, that which is not subjected to any bondage is Amrita.
Yeah. But Swamiji translated as Moksha Rupa, but what is the literal translation of Amritabdehe? Amritabdi. What's the Amrita Abdi? Abdi is ocean. So Amrita is nectar, immortality. The ocean of immortality. Literal translation. Because this particular thing, like Swami said in the beginning, no? Last verse pointed out now by a nice example. There's a drishtanta here. And it's a very poetic drishtanta. Yeah.
This Amradaha is Moksharubaha, which is in the form of Sopragasha Atma. Amradaha Moksharubaha Swayam Pragasha Advayanadaha Advaya Anandaha. Eva Abdihi is how it is commented upon by a commentator.
So some Bhashyakara has written, not Adi Shankara's Bhashya, but somebody has written.
Yeah. So here there's a footnote, number 60. Swayam Prakasha Yati in this commentary is titled Rasa Bhivyanjiva.
Rasa
Bhivyanjiva. Swayam Pragasha Advaya Ananda means that which is not subjected to time, the Brahma Vastu. This Brahma Vastu is Amradabdihi. This timeless ocean is Amrada. Amradabdehe Mama Brahmatmanaha Me Na Jirniha Jirna Na Jirniha Jirnihi.
What is Jirnihi?
Digestion.
Correct. I mean, in common parlance, Jirna is digest, but what the literal meaning is that which is
decay.
gets old, worn out, all that's called jirna. Where else have you come across this word?
भगवत गीता क्लोथ्स की तरह रिमूव कर देती है आत्मा.
Sorry, say that again.
आत्मा removes the body like clothes, old clothes.
Correct. What is the verse?
वासांसि जीर्णानि
What is the verse?
वासांसि जीर्णानि
जीर्णानि
वासांसि
यथा विहाय. Ah, like 22nd verse of chapter 2. Same meaning. That clothes which are worn out. So the meaning of the word jirna is that which is worn out. And so here, ocean is not worn out by any of these dindira. Dindira is foam. Dindira is, in Hindi, what we call fena. Fena. There was also a detergent called fena. I don't know if it's still there in the market. There was a detergent. So that doesn't, because that is mishra. Like all these that you see in the ocean, the bubbles, the foam, wavelets, all of them are mishra, mithya.
For me, who is this Amrdabdihi? There is no wearing out. Na me jirnihi. On account of what? Mrisha dindira janmabihi. The example.
Janmabihi.
Okay, janmabihi, sorry. The example drishtanda and the exemplified darshtanda, both we have to see here. The example here is an ocean. The ocean is the cause for what? Dindira janma. Dindira janma. Janma. Dindira is fena, the form, the froth, the wave, etc. In the ocean, these are the creations. There is janma, birth, sthiti, sustenance, and also there is nasha, dissolution for these waves, form, etc. They are born of the ocean, sustained by the ocean, and go back to the ocean. By this birth, death, etc., is there any loss for the ocean? Is there any loss for the ocean? Is there any real change for the ocean? There is no change for the ocean. Ocean continues to be the ocean, and these waves, etc., are non-separate from ocean even while they exist. Even during their existence, they do not have any existence independent of the ocean. Therefore, they are the ocean. A wave is born, so what? The wave is born, the ocean continues. The wave is gone, the ocean continues. Therefore, Amradabdehe na me jirnihi. For the Abdi, the ocean consisting of water, the oceanness itself is Karanatva. The ocean is the cause for the wave. Water is not the cause for the wave. That oceanness is the Ishwaratva. The ocean is the cause for the sustenance of the wave. The ocean is the cause unto whom the wave goes back.
I don't think cause is a good word here, no? Ocean, okay, maybe it is a cause before, now it has become the receptacle for the wave to go back into.
Therefore, the ocean becomes the Karana, the cause for the wave Jagat. Now the wave Jagat, if the ocean is the cause, it is Karanatvam Satyam. Is its Karanatvam Tattvam Satyam? This is the question. Karanatvam cannot be Satyam. Inasmuch as the Karya, the wave itself is not independent of Karana, the cause. When it is not independent of the cause, then the Karya is Mithya. What is Mithyatva? Karana Ananyatva.
Mithyatvam.
Mithyatva. Karana Ananyatva. This is Nirdharanam. Karana
Nirdharanam. You said
Nirdharanam.
Nirdharanam.
Nirdharanam. Okay. Karana Vyadiregena. Vyatiregena Karyasya Asatva
Nirdharanam.
Nirdharanam. This ascertaining of
What
the
does that mean? What
non-existent.
does that sentence mean? What this is? Nirdharanam. Karana Vyatirekena Karyasya Asatva Nirdharanam. Yes, Divyansh?
Swamiji, I have one question.
Go on.
So when we say like Karya is mithya, like in these examples, we can understand where the um, like where it is not a parinami karanam, right? But in case of parinami karanam, how do we say that Karya is mithya?
It is the same Karana. Without the Karana, there cannot be Karya, no? Maybe you could look at it that way. But here, we are not so much concerned about your right. Parinami Karanam is different from Vivatta Karanam. Eventually, we throw out both. But you can think of even Parinami Karyam as Parinami Karanam as the Karyam that comes out of that cannot be there without the Karanam. What happens is the Karanam itself undergoes change to become the Karyam. Like the standard example given is when milk becomes curd, right? That milk is a Karanam, becomes curd. It loses its milkness and acquires curdness. So there it is probably slightly different from this. In the case of the Jagat, where we talk about Vivatta Karanam, unchanging Karanam, there it definitely cannot be different. So here we are talking about Vivatta Karanam only.
Okay, because like this thing is like the material is not undergoing any change, right? So
Yeah.
so that is easily understandable that okay, मतलब कि कुछ नया नहीं, new thing is not created or
Not created. You're right.
having a new form.
Did
But
everybody understand Divyan's question? Where the statement here is that Karya, the existence of the Karya cannot be independent of the Karanam. Correct? His question was, what happens in the case when the Karanam itself undergoes change to become the Karyam? Like milk turning into curd, it is the same milk. But even there, the Karyam is not independent of the Karanam. Without the milk, there is no curd. To that extent, you can see that. But here we're not even talking about that. Here we're talking about Vivatta Karanam only.
okay.
Unchanging Karanam. So the sentence that we were reading, Nirdharanam, Karana Vyatirekena Karyasya Asatva Nirdharanam. There cannot be a Karyam other than the Karanam. Karana Vyatirekena. Different from the Karanam. There cannot be Karyam, it is Asatva. That is shown. Yeah, shall we continue reading?
Yeah. This ascertaining of the non-existence of the Karya, independent of the cause, is called Abhavadaha. In the
Adhyaropa Apavada Prakriya.
Abhavada Prakriya.
Does everybody know what is Adhyaropa Apavada Prakriya? It's a teaching methodology.
No.
Everybody is clear on that?
Rope and snake.
No, more than that.
Creation.
Let's take the same example with Jagat. See, when you start the search for the truth, what happens? I am in this Jagat and I only have one perspective, and that is from the Jagat. That's all the perspective I have. To me, every experience is real, every object is real, and I, the subject, is real. So what Shastra does is, it allows the adhyaropa of all these on the reality, as though accepting your version that is all real. For the moment, it allows you that. But as we study more, and then we come to understand this karya and karanam, and the karya cannot be separate from the karanam, then we negate karyam as being non-self-existing. This is negation. Apavada is negation. Having initially established the Jagat, for that we also have a model. We have this Panchabhutas, and how the Panchabhutas came initially as Sukshma, and then how they went through Panchikaranam. Whole model is there. So what happens when we start the learning, when we start the studying, all that satisfies our requirement, saying that yes, the Jagat is there. This is how the Jagat was formed, from that one source. And then later you negate all this by saying karyam cannot be independent of the karanam. And therefore, it is the negation of the original hypothesis. Step-by-step process. So it's called adhyaropa apavada prakriya, the methodology used in the learning process.
Yeah. You are not negating anything, but
yes,
seeing.
Swamiji, can you give the quick argument of how, in the case of Panchikaranam, how do we say that Karya is not separate from Karanam?
Not in case of Panchikaranam. Panchikaranam is a model. What is the model? Model says the whole Jagat came in the process by the Shakti of Maya. Maya itself we're going to negate later. But to start with, Maya Shakti, we say what came about first was Akasha. Akashat Vayuhu, Vayuragnihi, Agnerapah. So how do you understand that? At that time when the learning process happened, the first time when Swamiji will talk about this, he will say, from that Brahman came Akasha in its subtle form. And from that Brahman and Akasha came Vayu. And this is given to that Akasha has a quality. Before that, there's no quality. Brahman has no quality. Akasha has a quality. Akasha has a quality of sound, Shabda. Then from that Brahman and Akasha came Vayu. Now Vayu also has an additional quality. It has the sound because it has come from Akasha, but it also has Sparsha. And then from the same Brahman, along with Akasha and Vayu, came Agni. So Agni now has not only the quality of Shabda and Sparsha, because it came from Akasha and Vayu, but it also has an additional quality of Rupa. Like that, you go all the way down up to Prithvi, which has all five. And then you say, okay, these are all in the subtle form from which all your subtle components of the Jagat came. And a whole model is developed on that. But what about the Sthula? These subtle ones, according to this model, combined in a certain fashion called Panchikaranam to become gross. And from there came all the gross objects. So you take the Sharira accept as both Sthula and Shukshma components, where it came from. So when you do the Tattvabodha, all the details are given. So it's a model. But later, when we negate the fact that Karyam cannot be independent of the Karanam, all the Jagat is Karyam, and therefore is independent of its Karanam. At this point, for understanding only, we say Brahman plus Maya is Ishvara. But we negate Maya also. There is no such thing as Maya. But for our understanding, we would say Brahman plus Maya is Ishvara. And that Ishvara is a Jagat Karanam Ishvara. And therefore, everything here is not independent of Ishvara. Non-self-existing. They have no existence other than Ishvara. Therefore, Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma. Everything here is nothing but Ishvara. And then once that bit becomes clear, we've done the Apavada. Which is what we did in the previous shloka. We negated Karanatvam. You understand? Yeah.
You're not negating anything, but seeing through it, seeing that the wave is not independent of the ocean. That oceanness.
Swami is very carefully using. I also use the word Apavada as negation. But really there's no negation. There is nothing. What are you going to negate? There is nothing. So we're not negating anything, but seeing through it. And seeing through it, we are seeing the Vastu. Like you see through all the gold ornaments. You're not negating the gold ornament. They're there. But you're seeing through them, in and through them, I like that phrase, we're seeing gold. So the perspective becomes very different. I love that perspective again of saying the perspective of the lady who goes to buy a necklace. Now our Prime Minister said, please don't go buy any more gold for some time. And the perspective of the trader, gold bullion trader. His perspective is very clear. He only sees gold. In and through all of these ornaments. Whereas from this perspective, from the perspective of the buyer of the gold chain, we are seeing only the chain. So Swami is very nice. We are not negating anything, but seeing through it into the Vastu.
That oceanness, being the cause, is as good as the wave. Since the wave is its product, if the wave is not independent of the ocean, and if the wave, the product is mithya, the causal status for the ocean is also equally mithya. So the wave is
Karanatvam.
Karanatvam. So the wave is mithya, and the causal status for the ocean is also mithya. Where there is mithya, there should be the presence of satya. You cannot arrive at mithya without the presence of satya. Therefore, you do not really have to look for satyam when you see mithya. In fact, the sight itself is of satyam alone, plus whatever you see, which is called mithya. As you see the pot, you are also seeing the clay equally. Therefore, you do not require to create a new occasion to see the clay. At the same time, as you see mithya pot, you see the satyam clay also. The only thing is, you have to recognize the clay. When you recognize the clay, then abhavadaha kridaha. The abhavada of the pot is already done. Therefore, we are not afraid of a pot. There can be 1,000,000 pots. It does not make any difference to the clay. This is what we call abhavada. If this abhavada is understood, here also the ocean being the cause for the wave is already negated because the wave is recognized by you as mithya. Wherever there is mithya, there is satya. The wave is not independent of water. The ocean is also not independent of water. Therefore, the wave is mithya, the ocean also is mithya. Whatever is the satya. What is
Water,
there?
water
Water
is
is the satya. Water is the satya. What is there?
See the distinction here. If you equate the Drishtanta and the Dashtanta, the Jagat can be equated to all those waves, bubbles, spina, etc. when considering only the universe of the ocean. And the ocean itself may be considered the samashti, like Ishvara, from which the wave, etc. Originate, sustained by which and into which they all resolve back. Like that, the whole Jagat emanate from the Ishvara, are sustained by Ishvara, go back into Ishvara. But he's not saying Ishvara is the Satyam, mind. Because Ishvara, we have imbued an Ishvaratvam and therefore we call it Ishvara. Only when in our perspective we are able to negate Ishvaratam also, then we look for reality. And the reality in this case, the Drishtanta is water. In the case of Dashtanta is Brahman. Yes, Divyansh.
But Swamiji, like, wouldn't that make Brahman the Vivarta Upadan Karanam of the Jagat?
Of what?
The Jagat. Vivarta Upadan Karanam.
Brahman is not Karana for anything.
So Vivarta.
Please understand, Brahman is not Karanam for anything. Brahman does nothing. That is why we introduced the idea of Maya. Then Maya also we negate. Maya is the original cause of Mithyatvam. Original Mithya is Maya, non-self-existing. Maya is neither a part of Brahman nor an independent Vastu. It is also like Kalpita. Brahman is not the doer, not the creator, not the Karanam, nothing. Initially we might say all that, but once we begin to understand Mithya, the whole Jagat is Mithya, Ishvaratvam is Mithya, Maya is the very beginning of Mithya because it is Ajnanam. Correct?
Yes, but so like Swamiji here said that whenever we are seeing a mithya vastu, there only we will see the sat vastu, right?
Correct. Correct.
So like if someone asks me like what is the reality of this object, right? I will say that the name and form is mithya, but the underlying reality or sat vastu is Brahman. Like it gets its existence in Brahman. So
It's what?
it gets its existence in Brahman.
Addition to Brahman.
Existence.
No.
Existence.
Existence in Brahman.
Existence. Existence, Swamiji.
Existence, yeah, existence, Brahman. Yeah.
So like snake gets its existence in the rope. Similarly, like I'm not saying that Brahman has changed. Brahman has become the Karanam or Karya. I'm not saying that. But the Sat Vastu is the underlying reality is the Brahman, right?
No, there is no reality. Where is the reality of a snake?
No, not the reality of the object. I'm saying the object gets its reality from an underlying. The Vastu is Brahman here. This is just the name and form superimposed over that, right?
I'm not sure. I'm very clear. Anybody else want to answer?
Swamiji.
No, he is basically trying to say that for something to exist, there has to be adhisthana, no? The root
Yes,
cause
yes.
of the this one. So he is stating that the root cause of the entire Jagat is Brahman, isn't it? The root cause for now here, for example, here the water is the ocean is also mithya, no?
Ocean.
Divyansh, ocean is mithya, which is the cause for the wave and the bubbles and all the other origins from the ocean. So here
Ha,
ocean is taken as the adhisthana for the wave or for
right,
the all other objects. Now
right.
what is the adhisthana for ocean? Water.
Water.
What is the adhisthana for water?
Self-existing, let's say.
Water is mithya, no? Water is mithya. We have seen how the water came
Ha.
by
So
the Panchikarana
Brahman,
process.
right?
So
Brahman.
everything has come from Brahman.
Right.
But Brahman is not the cause. The Maya is the cause for that. Brahman doesn't do anything.
Ha, true.
Correct. So there we would understand that the rest of the things are all anatmas. Only Atma is the Atma. Brahman is the Satvastu or the Atma. Rest of the everything else is anatmas.
True. ठीक है. लेकिन like I'm connecting this to the Kathopanishad thing, Swamiji. So in that you mentioned that Jagat has no material cause. It has only intelligent cause, right?
Material. Jagat doesn't exist. Take it that way.
No, Jagat doesn't
Jagat
exist.
doesn't
Brahman
exist.
exists. Brahman तो exist करता है ना.
करता है?
So Brahman is the material cause for Jagat. Can't we say
No,
that?
Jagat doesn't exist. Why do you need a material cause?
So why do we need intelligent cause if Jagat does not exist?
There's no Jagat. What Jagat are you talking about?
No, sorry. I'm just clarifying that in the Kathopanishad you mentioned malab, that Jagat has only like it has no material cause, it has only intelligent cause, that is Nyapti or consciousness, right? But
Only to show that the artha of jnanam is nyapti. That is all. Really speaking, if there is nothing existing, why do you need a cause? Why are you looking for a material cause or a intelligent cause? What are you looking for a cause for? There's nothing that existing. See, our perspective, because we are all the time looking at it from the perspective of I, the Ahankara, and saying, I'm understanding this. There is a transition that has to take place, which will take place only through Nididhyasana. Till then, I have to try to understand with whatever capacity I have in my buddhi, which is what we are trying to do. That buddhi itself is mithya. The buddhi itself is non-existent. So the buddhi has to understand first that I am non-existing and still understand everything. That is the transition where we're going to have certain challenges.
Swamiji,
Yes, Anand.
can I just add a point?
Sure.
So when we speak about the example of pot and clay, so we can look at the clay as the karanam of pot, but the karanatvam that we are attributing to the clay is needed only as long as we are holding on to the pot. So as long as we want the pot, there is a need for pot, we attribute this karanatvam to the clay. So that clay can be called as Ishvara, can be called as Brahman. But the moment we negate the pot, so once we understand that there is no pot, there is only clay, the need for pot is completely gone. Once we completely negate the pot, then the Karanatvam is also gone. There is no Karanatvam attributed to the clay anymore because there is no pot. Only if there is pot, there is need for a clay and there is need for the Karanatvam. And once we start to see from the perspective of the clay, then there is no pot at all. Where is the pot? There is only clay. So once that negation in terms of understanding of the reality has taken place, then the Karanatvam is also gone.
Okay. Swamiji, can I add one more thing?
Sure.
Okay, so ठीक है. I understand what Anand said and what you said, that Karanatvam is not there in the Brahman, right? Brahman is not a Karanam for anything. So then it is okay to say that Brahman is not neither the Upadan Karanam nor the intelligent Karanam for the Jagat, right? That
Absolutely
is,
correct. Absolutely correct.
हाँ फिर ठीक है because you said that it is only the Nimitta Karanam but not the Upadan Karanam.
You can think of it like Ishvara being the Nimitta Karanam.
हाँ ईश्वरा is Nimitta Karanam, right?
There's no Karanam. There's no Karanam, there's no Karin.
Okay. One more thing.
Okay.
मतलब ठीक है, we understand that there is no real reality to Jagat, right? But when we talk about, like, let's say two orders of reality,
Hmm.
one order of reality is Mithya, we understand that, but still in the Vyavahara it exists, right? So like to say it like there is no Jagat, like that is quite मतलब कि ठीक है, मतलब makes sense, but it's quite rude, not rude like, but मतलब
पागलपन है.
मतलब किसी नॉर्मल पर्सन को आप बोलोगे तो वो बोलेगा मतलब कि यार कम ऑन, गिव मी सम स्लैक, राइट?
Correct, correct, correct. Therefore, when somebody is starting out learning, see this in this group we can talk at this level. But if you're going to talk to your friend and explain this to him, don't start by explaining this. Go with Jagat, go with Ishvara. That's why Ishvara said that is why all the time we need Ishvara, we need Dvaitam. Ishvara is Dvaitam. And we need the Dvaitam in order to transcend Dvaitam. So you cannot start by telling him, you're not separate from Ishvara, you're Brahman. It will be very difficult for him to absorb or want to explain, unless you go through the whole process. Yeah. That is why in almost every text you see, including Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan says, don't disturb people who are doing karma. Karma meaning Vihita karma. Allow them to do it. Who remembers that verse? It should be in the 3rd chapter, no?
We just did that, but I don't remember.
Was it
Anand?
na buddhi bedam?
Na buddhi vedam janayet. Correct. Na buddhi vedam janayet. People who think differently, who are karmata, let them be. Don't try to teach them that all this karma is useless. You should only get knowledge. You should become Brahma. You are Brahman. You don't go there with people initially. Okay, let's continue.
Yeah. We are in para 2 of 232. Water is the Satyam. What is there is only one Satyam, which is common for the wave as well as the ocean. So minus that Satyam, there is no wave. Minus that Satyam, there is no ocean also. Both of them are dependent entirely upon the water, which is Satyam for their existence. The birth of a wave or froth or foam on the surface of the ocean has not brought about a change in the vastu, in the water. And tasmat amrdabdehe na me jirnihi, na jirnihi. There is no loss or anything. Now, the dashtanda, the amrdabdehe, amrdasya me atmanaha, for the timeless atma, that means avigari atma, for me, atma that is not subjected to any form of change. Na jirnihi mrisha dindira janmabihi. Mrisha is mitya. Mrisha dindira janmabihi. Mitya bhuda janmabihi. Vedadi janmabihi. Panjabhudadi janmabihi. Na mama jirnihi. So Agasha, Apa, Prithvi, Vayu, Agni, Iti, all these elements and the elementals, all these creations, like the waves on the ocean, do not really bring about any change to the Vastu. The Karana, the Vastu, the Karana. That Karana Vastu is not separate from me. Therefore, Mrisha Dindira Janmavihi Name Jirnihi. There are two things. One is subjected to change, other is not subjected to change. There is one changeless substratum for all the changes to take place. That changeless is called Kutastaha. Exactly like
Kutastha.
Kutastha. Oh, anvil. Okay. Exactly like an anvil. Therefore, leave the changing and catch hold of the changeless. This is contemporary Vedanta. If you think you are an anvil, then somebody is going to hammer you down. This thinking is very common. One must get the changeless ityadi. There are no two different things. Egameva advitiyam vastu and mityatvam of everything else that appears.
You read it correctly.
Mityatvam of everything else that appears must be understood. That is why he says, Name jirnihi mrisha dintira janmabihi. Mrisha is Mithya Buddha, that which is not true. It is me alone in the form of Lakshya Vastu. Brahman alone is the Agashadi Jagat. The entire Jagat, Agasha, Vayu, etc. is like even the Dindira form, both bubbles, etc. of the ocean. Mrisha Dindira Janmabihi Mama Jirnihi Na. Idi the water tells. Because for the water, there is no loss or disintegration due to these waves, etc. There is no nasha because the waves, etc. are mithya and they do not exist without water. This example has some limitations.
Every example will have limitation. This example also has limitation.
Wave is okay. Form is not good. To point out Agamabatitvam. Agamapayitvam. Drishta nasta swabhavatvam. Drishta nashta swabhavatvam. Mrishatvam, is it? Mrishatvam. Mrisha. Bubble.
All these dirgha, they become dirgha because there is a bhavartha.
Oh.
So, Mishratvam is Mishra Bhava, like that.
Okay. So the bubble, form, etc. are told. But for Ananyatvam, it is not a good example. In bubble form, etc., there is only water, but a lot of air.
Water, there is also
no,
air.
There is not only water, but a lot of air. Air, dirt is there. Anyat is there. So we have to stop with wave. Wave ocean example is enough for Ananyatvam. That is why.
What Ram is saying, is that clear? Because of the Drishtanta, And because we want to show the variety that is there in the creation, and the Dashtanta is the ocean, Drishtanta is the ocean, and the ocean has many things that is appearing in the ocean, which is waves, wavelets, surf, and you also have bubbles and foam. Swami is only cautioning us, saying that don't stretch the example. That's all he's saying.
I think
Divyansh,
Divyansh,
point.
Swamiji, in last page, second last line, it is me alone in the form of Lakshya Vastu. What is Lakshya Vastu here?
See, the meaning of the word is called Vatsya Vastu. Vatsya. Lakshya is, okay, the difference between, we've been discussing this many times, Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam.
Oh,
What we're trying to understand is the Lakshya of these words is Brahman.
Brahman. Okay.
Vatsya becomes what? What do you apply in the Jagat?
Okay.
Hmm.
So Lakshya Vastu is Brahman only, right?
Yeah. In Lakshya Vastu, you think of as, not the meaning that you would find in the dictionary. Because the dictionary will give you meaning which is relevant to the Jagat. But the meaning that you want to understand from the perspective of your understanding of Vedanta. Yeah.
continue? No. That is why Shastra always gives the Mrit Gada example, because example is always something germane to the truth, something connected, appropriate to what you want to convey. Drishtanta determines the
Dashtanta.
Dashtranta determines the Drishtanta. So Drishtanta is only water wave. Mridgada or the Swarna Bhushanam, a chain may have components other than gold, like some precious stones. For us, the example is only gold, no other thing. That is the example to point out Ananyatvam. Vastu is Ekameva. Any vikara is only Namadeyam. Nama Matram. Nama Matra vikara is accepted. Name alone is the vikara. And that is Pratibhasikam.
Pratibhasikam.
Pradibhasikam. You give some reality to vikara. At the same time, it is Nama Matram. Because there is no Vastu. One cannot even think of a vikara without thinking of the Vastu. Avastatvam is there for the vikaras, even though artha kriya karitvam, kriya karitvam, usefulness is there. Although it is a complex jagat with niyati, rules, karana, karya, etc., all these are vikaras for amrudabdihi, and every vikara is mrisha, vastu ananyat eva. So na me jirnihi, they come and they go, but na me brahmatmanah jirnihi.
We'll stop here today. We'll continue. Divyansh, hold your question. We will continue in the next class. We'll take your question. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya